Alright guys, let me see here. It's 6/28/2016. Talking about the UK leaving the European Union. Now the question here is, why are they leaving now? You know, the world system, the world government, the Illuminati, their top dog, if you will, is the UK, is going to be the British. Everything trickles down from that. So you're going to have your Bilderberg Group, your United Nations, your CFR, everything goes down from that point. So, and the world system, the world government, runs all of the UK, all of the European Union, United States, Canada, Mexico, and many other countries. So, since they're running these, why separate it? You say, well, the people voted. Well, you know, the elections have been controlled for a long time. So, if the vote is even offered to the people, and if it's voted to appear, you know that they voted themselves out of the European Union, which did happen, it's because it was planned out by them. So you're going to ask yourself again, why do they want to separate from the European Union, since they already run the UK and they run the European Union, the same group, same world government group? Why would you want to separate now after all this time? It's tough to figure that one out, you know, but my guess is that we're heading into tough times right now, that they're setting up possibly their big collapse. Their big collapse has been planned for many, many decades, and this is possibly it. If it is, then they'll separate themselves from, the UK will separate from the European Union so that they can do what they want with the European Union. So, in other words, if they're connected to, if the UK is connected to the European Union and the European Union goes down, collapses financially, well, then the UK should have to go with it, right? Because they're all connected. It should be, you know, and they might not want that to happen. In other words, they want to keep the UK separate so they can basically do what they want. Now, maybe they will drop it down and collapse it financially, or appear that way, or maybe not. But they don't want it to be connected to the rest of the group, because that group will be going down, the European Union will be going down with the United States. So, that's why I believe they want to separate it. And just so that they can handle it differently during the collapse. Now, the big question is this the collapse that they're setting up? Well, you know, again, it's hard to pinpoint that. You know, what do we know for sure? We know that the countries worldwide are collapsing at a, I mean, they're on the edge of collapsing. They're financially, they're a mess, just like the United States with the debt. It's, I mean, if we quit printing money, America, it's over. You know, that's all that's keeping us keeping the United States hanging on. So, you look at Venezuela, and you know they got hyperinflation. So, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the world that would lean towards this being the time. Let's see what I got here in my notes here. You know, the bond market is a mess. You know, that yield curve is flattening out. When that yield curve flattens out and it inverts, you know, that's trouble. And that's happening now. And it appears like they're setting up a housing market real similar to 2008, where, you know, that had to be set up to collapse those to bring the value of those houses down. Uh, and they're going to be doing, it looks like they're doing the same thing now. So you can almost look for that next year uh, as being a year of possibly the housing market, taking a dive. Um, so why are they doing this? Why are they doing this with the housing market? Well, back in the first, Great Depression, uh, the world system, one of the reasons they did that depression was to take the businesses pennies on the dollar, or to get rid of businesses that weren't world government. So in other words, if you had, let's just say 4 beer companies and 2 of them were world government, well, if you collapse them down, now those 2, the value is much less. You can either, buy them pennies on the dollar, or they just go out of business, and then you eliminate them and you just keep world government companies behind. That was one of the reasons that they did the Great Depression. Now those same people, the same group, they want the houses now, and that's what they're doing. That's why they set up the '08 collapse. They took many houses there, and now they're going to do it again. And the goal is eventually is to take just about all the private homes. And you definitely can see that being set up over and over here. And this should be that, like I said, next year should be the second run at this, that the houses collapse, all kinds of foreclosures, and then the banks will take the houses, and the banks are world government, so then they get them. A lot of people don't think, they'll say, is the world government that big? And yes, they control all the large companies. Well, there might be one here or there if they don't, but remember, they've been running everything for hundreds and hundreds of years. So taking those houses and is really nothing for them. It's going to be they're going to have to work at that, but since they control everything, they're going to be able to do it. So, when you look around and you see the state of economies in all these different countries, and you watch our stock market, and you see hyperinflation, you see countries, on the verge of collapsing, and you see, droughts in California where, a lot of our food is grown, and you see all these things happening at the same time. It makes you lean towards that, something that they are thinking of doing something on a larger level than what they've done in the past. When they do the big collapse, it will be worldwide, and it will be devastating, and many will die. And it looks like we're heading in towards what the Bible would describe more as the last days. And in the last days, we have a worldwide economical collapse, according to the Bible. So is this that collapse? It certainly could be. One thing that's got me leaning towards, something coming sooner than later on a large scale is Fukushima in Japan. And for you people that don't know, the tsunami that hit Fukushima there in the nuclear plant, it hit that in March of 2011, and there's been 3 cores melting down there for ever since. So we're talking over 5 years, pulling a large amount of radiation into the air and into the ocean. And now I think they've changed what they've done there as far as the cooling, but at that point they were cooling with the water, and the water is running directly into the ocean. And now we have people reporting that stuff is dying on the West Coast at an alarming rate. Now, it sure would appear that that's from Fukushima. I don't know for sure, but it sure would appear that that's what it's from. And you got people reporting of fairly high amounts of radiation, even in our country here. If that's the case, and it almost would appear to be, um, then the world government's going to know that. So what's interesting to me is that, this happened in March of 2010, and in 2011, and in 2012, the decision was made to swap out the popes. Now, they hadn't swapped out a pope in about 800 years or 600 years, something like that. But the world system and the Catholic Church will be together as one. They are together as one. So they're going to be making decisions together. So if they, understand, look, this Fukushima is bad, and nobody tried to stop it. Nobody tried to cover it up like they did with Chernobyl. It's still wide open today. Nobody's tried to pour concrete over it or whatever, like they did with Chernobyl. And so when they decided to do that, to swap the popes out, was that because of this Fukushima? In other words, do they now have their guy in power that they want in power as we go into the collapse? In other words, is this the biblical collapse? And it's pretty clear from the Bible that one of the popes will end up being the Antichrist. So then you got to ask yourself, they swapped out the popes right after Fukushima, which they haven't done in 1600 years. Is this that pope that the Bible tells us will be the Antichrist in the last days? We're gonna see here. If it is, then they have to move fast here. And right now things are moving fast. So the other thing is, I feel like God is telling me that there's something wrong with this election. In other words, it hasn't been clear to me, but it's like you're watching two people run that aren't serious about running. And it's almost like they're going through the motions. And so, it makes you wonder, are we actually going to have the election? Or, once these people are elected, something happens, and, worldwide, to where their power isn't what it should be, or something is funny with this election. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're, it's almost like they're setting something up. I can't figure it out, but I just got this feeling that something, when I watch the candidates, it's like they're not, it's like they're just going through the motions. Like they're not really thinking, oh, like I've got to win this. I'm going to be president for 4 years, right? Something is definitely wrong there. So I don't know. We'll see. Is the world government planning a false flag event now that this vote, happened with the UK? I don't know. But the bottom line is things are going fast right now, guys. I mean, the world system's in overdrive, and they're making big moves. So, that doesn't guarantee that something's going to happen, next week or next month. But, I would lean, by the end of 2017 that they'll do something. It'll be something on a larger scale, and maybe before the election. I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing. But, so I just, I wanted to comment on the UK, and you got to remember, guys, if the UK votes itself out of the European Union, it's because the world government wants it. So we need to figure out why that is. Why now? Middle of 2016, have they decided, okay, now it's time to separate from the European Union? So my guess is, I'm leaning towards the fact that, it's time for them to go, to start melting everything down. But, I can't guarantee that. But based off everything we just talked about, I would tend to lean that way. So they're going to do it at some point. The Bible tells us they'll do a worldwide economical collapse. So the question has always been is when, and maybe that's now. We'll see.